All right, welcome to Rock Talk. I'm Chuck Nilosek, and I love the opportunity of having this show so I can meet really interesting people. And my guest today is not only interesting, but we are planning on so many different opportunities, new and exciting opportunities. Sharmin Wengender, thank you for coming on. And we met just by chance, which is sort of unique to what we're even talking about. And you are a jack of all trades, a mom, entrepreneur, a spirit guide, yoga instructor, RN, a writer, author, podcaster. What else?
I don't know.
Auto mechanic, skydive champion. This lady does it all, and it's awesome to have you on.
Thanks, Chuck.
And we on my journey, of really trying to find what kind of content to make, I fell into this line of thinking that everything that we do, we hope people's lives get a little better or opens their eyes or their personalities to other things that maybe they just don't know or are not aware of. And so first of all, tell me about how you got started with all of this and what you do.
That's a great question. So it's a lifelong journey, really, of self-introspection and inner work. And I think we're all doing that, and we don't necessarily make it a career. For me, mindset was a powerful thing in my life. I definitely was told sometimes in life where we get that mirror back, you get a lot of feedback, and my feedback loop in my life was always, wow, you're so positive, or, how are you always so happy? And as a young girl, I didn't really know. But then I really discovered I could control my thoughts, and then I could control kind of how I respond and react, and how good things just kept happening. And I started to recognize the relationship between my thoughts and the reality that I was living. So I decided to pursue nursing. That was my vocation. But nursing school was really challenging. And in nursing school, a few girls actually had a little bit of a mental break. It was just kind of like extremely demanding and soul crushing. It was really intense, and I needed and sought something to keep me grounded and support. And so I had faith always in my life, but we didn't go to church really. And so, but I just found myself out of desperation. I need some support. I need some help. And as I leaned into that, it provided me that strength, that power, that ability to do the thing. And so when you find something that works, it becomes a tool in your toolbox. And so, I used it. And I ended up graduating with like a 4.0, which was, amazing for me because I wasn't necessarily the most academic. Social always kind of was my priority. And suddenly, I nailed it. And I was like, wait, this wasn't just me. And so I was a nurse. And then I became a mom, had 3 beautiful children, 3 daughters. And when that happened, it was my priority to stay home. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and my husband went out. And as my father would say, he made the living and I made the living worthwhile. That was our gig. And it worked great. But I think what happens to a lot of moms is they sort of lose themselves, they lose their way. Because if you're not in your purpose, you kind of can get a little lost, right? And your light doesn't go out, but you sort of feel like you're a little dimmer and you're not sure why. And I was seeking, again, how do I re-spark that? What do I need? And I remembered in nursing school, when I felt most like myself, it was when I did yoga. And I think that was that mind, body, soul alignment, right? That harmony. And I didn't have it in my life because I was giving everything to my kids. I loved it, but you can have both.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay, so it was when I was in yoga school. And as a mom, I knew I couldn't just go to yoga and find that same feeling, because I wouldn't go to yoga if my kids needed me or if my husband needed me, because I was second in my mind to whatever their needs were. So I said, okay, sign up to be a teacher, because then you can't not go. You have to complete that. And so I did, became a yoga teacher, started teaching yoga classes. And almost immediately I found, as I was speaking to my students in my class, they were getting kind of like in these little trances, like, whoa, what have you just said? The kids, always a mom.
Right.
Students were crying in class, and they would say to me, what did you say during class? Because, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was...
So your classes that you would teach or be
I would be teaching them.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be teaching as, once I became a yoga teacher.
Okay.
And by the way, that process of becoming a teacher was really God, such a metaphor. We all need to just keep growing, because kind of refinding myself was the process of becoming, like doing something for myself. It felt so good. And doing all that inner work and just watching your thoughts. That's what yoga really is all about, right? The yoking of the mind and body. But as I started teaching and speaking about those concepts, people were like, and I had this studio in my house, and my own studio, and people wouldn't leave, which was a really cool thing, but also I was noticing a trend. They wanted more. They wanted to talk more. There was something about what I was saying that was reshaping the way they were thinking.
Yeah.
And so organically, I became a life coach. I went and got certified and started doing that, which led to the radio show. And not for nothing, but I think life is a series of moments where we find ourselves and we lose ourselves again. And even though I had all those things as you described, and thank you for calling me a jack of all trades, because you would know one, because you are one, I haven't had my radio show in 8 years. And I took a pause again, because in that moment, my husband needed me for his career choice, and he needed my support, and I was happy to give it. Thought I'd go right back to it, and it's been 8 years. And so recapturing it when it's meant to be, it's funny how fast it can happen, because I walked in, met you, it was meant to be. Our conversation, your exact quote was, "Why weren't we filming this?"
Right, exactly. And I think that you met me at such a critical point of my life, in which I'm challenging and testing and asking questions about everything, right? And going on this this new spiritual journey of just trying to, because I think it's human nature to just ask questions of like, why are we here, or whatever, and what's the meaning of this? Why is there suffering? Why are we here? I mean, so you go through the process of just trying to figure something out that you can't, because nobody really knows. You can maybe come to a comfortable conclusion that you can live with, but at the end of the day, we won't know until we're onto the next journey.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just starting to question everything, and the world, you get a sense it's going through a spiritual awakening, or an awakening beyond just what we've been fed and told, whether it's about our diets, or about our spirituality, or about health. I mean, there's just so much there. So it was just good timing.
It was great timing. Yeah, you were looking for somebody who could speak about these ideas, and I was looking to get back into it. And it's
I was
always
looking for free therapy and free, just a friend that, this is all fake.
We're just playing.
Yeah.
We're just playing, figuring out life together. No, it's just about, it is. And so, and if we look at life, we've had some conversations, life can feel like a game. And I always tell my clients it really is. And by the way, I did not stop life coaching. I only stepped away from my radio show. I've been active in my career this whole time, but in a smaller role. And I have a hard time maintaining my purpose and my dreams, because I feel so compelled to help others with theirs, right? It's like the cobbler's wife has, terrible shoes. And I feel I need to, and I also, in my old radio show, one of the episodes I think I told you was called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. And realizing I have to take my advice. You can have it all. You can be it all. You can have the career, and you can have that balance and harmony there, and you can have personal harmony in your soul, mind-body integration, and you can have it in the relationships in your life. You don't have to sacrifice one to have another.
Right.
But it's when you discover through self, reflection, what am I prioritizing and what am I ignoring, and then just taking action. So it's really not difficult. Look how fast this happened. Yeah. But it's not just for us. It's everybody. And I always tell my clients, when you take a step towards yourself, the universe will conspire to help you. You have to take a step. And so that's a great conversation. And I hope in this show, as we embark on all our new adventures together, I hope that it helps people discover their own truth, get reflective, keep an open heart, and kind of maybe land on the life that they wanted for themselves, the life that they envisioned for themselves, that does feel imbalance in all the areas. And it is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, just what we're seeing in the energy of people and friends and neighbors and everyone around us is that everything, the older you get, the more you know and the less you know.
Yeah.
Right? I think that you become, maybe that's the definition of wisdom, is that you realize you don't know anything,
We're always
but
learning.
you know more than you did when you were, 18, 19 years old. And I think that people are starting to, like, I would joke with friends like, everything I thought I knew turned out to be wrong. The things that I put my trust in, which weren't really things that deserved my trust, but I placed them there. I had to find my new truth to trust,
Yeah.
And I think when people are searching for those kind of things, they'll reach for anybody. And that's why you see somebody like a kid go to a gang, or like even they said why people join Al Qaeda or terrorist groups, because they weren't loved, they had nobody, and this group welcomed them in, you know,
and
they
very
were
careful when you're in that
convictions
vulnerable state.
right.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, we throw our trust out so randomly, and we also, it's such a hard world to live in with media and social media, because we only see a facade of the outside public, and everybody's glued to their phones, and that's their reality, when in fact it isn't. And I think even, to my fault, when I first had conversations with you, I'm like, what is this? What does she know about hard life? She's beautiful. Her family's amazing. Her husband looks like he's Tom Cruise and all this stuff, whatever. And it's like that. And we talked about that 22-year-old man or woman at the gym who's
the
talking
one
about
who's like,
fitness.
oh, you could be fit like me.
Right,
No,
please.
you're 22. You don't know what it's like to work against life and our bodies that are changing. No, you're right.
And until we had a conversation,
You didn't
I'm like,
know.
okay, she's a human being. And everybody out there is human.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think
all go through everything.
we make these assumptions about life. It's easy because they had it handed to them. She's a Nepo baby, or he's he's got all the support in the world, but I can't. For me, it's going to be different. Now, that's simply not true. And I think that you did say that. You were happy to hear in the best way.
I wasn't happy, but I was more. What am I thinking of? I was my preconceptions that were in making it harder for me to hear you were broken down a little bit more,
So we learn through our challenges, and we don't learn through our moments of achievement. We really don't. Those are great moments, and they help us feel that high vibrational self, which feels so good. We know it feels like when everybody's cheering and we feel in alignment, like that feels good and that's empowering, and we can call on that self when we need it. But our growth really comes from the fumbles. It comes from the struggle, the challenges, and the adversity that we face. Because, like for me in nursing school, for example, I was like, I can't do this alone. What's it going to take? It's a little bit of that surrender, and we talked about surrender. Surrendering, going, okay, this does suck. I can call out what it is. I see it. But I don't want to be a victim. So in our challenges, we get stronger. We learn new tools. We're like, okay, I know I can get out of this, because and I believe, and I tell my clients, everything happens for you, not to you.
Yeah.
So if in every moment, especially the challenges, you can actually find the thank you, knowing it's happening for you. Say thank you first, discover why later. The lessons are in all of it. And when you can kind of like extract the lesson, you feel so empowered. Then you're like, this is a game. It doesn't matter. It's almost like you're like, all right, throw me something else.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to be better for it. I know I'm going to be stronger for it. I know I'm going to have something good for the plot. Like I'm a different, more evolved version. Go ahead.
I think I told you that I actually said that at one point. Like, I thought I had life figured out. And I said, hey, throw me something of a challenge.
And then you did, and then it did.
And then it was like, whoa, don't, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And it just, that was almost like a whole new journey of like, okay, let's go. If you really want, it's like going into the Navy SEALs or whatever. No one would want to do that, but when you get through it, you're an elite person that's respected by everyone, because it's out of mind, out of body what you had to go through to be that way.
Yeah.
And I think that anybody there's Navy SEALs everywhere in terms of like the analogy, the people that have gone through horrendous things.
Right.
And we just sometimes don't realize it because we get stuck in our own way.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I think that I want to get messages out there to people who are in their bleakest and darkest of times.
There's a lot of us.
Because your
right.
heart breaks when you hear anybody who
Yeah.
takes their life or something when they, because you just know that they've closed themselves off from everything.
Right. And that's my hope, is that if somebody's out there listening, because there's a lot of pain in the world. There's a lot of suffering in the world. And even the people who look like they're not, they might be, right? So what's the conversation? And I really think that it doesn't have to be hard, even in the thick of the hard, even in the thick of what is swallowing you whole. You can take a breath and realize that it is happening for you, not to you. Reach for one good thought. Literally, it's always there. I mean, maybe it's a stranger that you meet. Maybe it's, just that the sky is blue and it's not raining today. Maybe it's, just this cozy blanket that you're covered up with, that you have a home. Like, I don't know what person we're speaking to now and what challenges they're facing, but there is one good thought right in front of them, somewhere within reach. It doesn't have to be fix your life. That seems daunting, almost impossible.
And we talked about it when we did this. We attempted to do this once, and there was just a lot of issues that had come up, and we said, let's just do this again.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, happens for a reason. But
it already feels like we are more in our flow today than we were that first time. So again, there are no accidents.
Yep.
Right.
And we talked about spirituality, and I talked about Jesus and God, and I was like, one of the comforting things, and it's in Alcoholics Anonymous and 12-step programs, is believing in a higher power, right?
You have to.
And understanding, and that's where you go in this this search for answers of life and like why we're here. And it's a comforting fact to know that there is a creator that loves you so much,
right?
And has put you here only for that. And there was a lot. It wasn't just I opened the Bible and was like, oh, this is fantastic. Why didn't I know this before?
Right.
Or a CCD class or church or anything.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that doesn't get you there, because people get disillusioned and disenfranchised with the institution doing something wrong, or like the King James version of the Bible is so confusing. And
I agree.
So for me, I went on this long journey of like hearing stories from people who had near-death experiences and crossed over.
Yeah.
And they came back changed people.
Yeah.
Satan worshipers, atheists,
Yeah.
scientists, moms, dads, you name it, right? Yeah. And we're all going to go.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they came back, and there's some reasons that, maybe that was the case in terms of technology getting better and life-saving technology, things like that. But I also think it was a message from God to tell us, like, to give us messages. Go back and testify to this, because almost to a man, everybody's experiences were different. And that's like saying, like when somebody crosses over, sure, the details will be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But they have the fundamental core truths to it. Like if 35 people went to Buffalo, they're all going to have different versions of what they saw, because Buffalo is a big place. So the afterlife is certainly big, right? It's infinite.
Right.
So, but everyone to a man said that it was the most overwhelming sense of love, and words weren't even there to explain that. And people would break down, and that alone was enough for me to like, and people would say, look, there's nothing to worry about there, right? And the Creator loves you and has created you in His image, and like we're all here to love one another and that kind of thing.
Right.
And when you get there first, then you go, all right, all these other things, you can handle them, especially because if you say there's something else there.
Boom.
Right. So it's not, because when I felt the darkest is when I stopped believing that.
Yeah,
because
you feel
then
alone.
Like, you're
swallowed up. I've got nothing. And it's so interesting though, because again, it happened for you, not to you. I think we have to feel darkness to appreciate light. And I think we have to know the difference between love and fear. And I think anecdotal stories like that, or hearing even just a person here on earth, who has an experience of, I was at the bottom and now I see the light again. It's possible for everybody to change the way they're looking at the world. You can white knuckle it. It's a choice. You can think it's just you. You can be an atheist. Go ahead. But it's a lot harder. But if you believe that there is something bigger than you, that this is divinely orchestrated, it's a hell of a lot more fun. It is a lot easier. And there's a faith and a trust that comes outside of you, like you're not alone. And so then you start to say, all right, if I'm in that mindset that there's something bigger than me guiding and moving me through this world, and I'm supposed to be learning as I go, you already are in a more positive mindset. And when you're in that positive mindset, like we were discussing, you become a magnet for what you are. So if I believe, wow, this is all good, it's for my highest good, and I'm going to meet people that I need, and I'm going to be in situations that are good for me, then I'm attracting the outcomes that are good for me, and then and whatever you look for, you're going to find, right? Whatever. So if you're the type of person that sits around and says like, oh, if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all, or this day is going to be shitty. Well, it's going to be shitty.
Right.
Whatever you believe, you're right, because the lens you see it through is going to, that's the filter, right? So you can see it as all good, and that's what you'll look for, and you will find it. Or you can do the opposite, and you can have a positive, meaningful life. Or you can have a life that just feels difficult, and you're being rained upon, and you're being, put behind others, and you're angry, and it's terrible. Like, the feeling that you have in your body is a choice. So I always say, metaphors. We like metaphors.
We do.
We know this. So if you're driving in the car and the radio is on and a song that you hate comes on and it irritates you, it maybe even triggers a thought from your past that you don't like, do you play it till it's over, or do you reach up because it's at arm's length from you and you can change the station? What do you do?
Change it. That's a good one.
Yeah, you change it.
One.
And the minute you change it and it's your favorite song, it's bop, and you're feeling it, it's got a vibe, you feel better. And it's a better memory. And it's now you were thinking about the summer and that time that you were out and that night, and it was so great. This is life. And because the metaphor of being within your arm's length to be able to change that thought, we feel like we're so in control, but we're always in control. Change your thought, change your life. Your thoughts become things. So whatever you think about, you will bring about. You want to look for that shitty day, you will find it. But if you want to believe that this is a good day, then change your thought, look for that, and it's an amazing thing, the way it's going to happen. So yeah, it's kind of like reclaiming power. But again, I don't think that by me having just a positive mindset that I'm going to be positive Patsy and everything's going to be rainbows and it's so easy. I am welcoming lessons at all times. I am welcoming fumbles and failures. We're going to fumble and fail through some of these podcasts, I'm sure. There's going to be moments we stumble or we don't get our point across. And
we already did the first one, but it was a successful failure,
and
I thought.
And it was. We learned a lot.
Mm-hmm,
so,
exactly.
And that's where we learn. We learn through our stumbles. We learn through our challenges. We learn through our interactions. But if the lens is, this is for me, not to me, it's an amazing thing because you don't embody resentment. You don't embody like sadness or frustration. You embody like it's like an alchemy. It's like you alchemize everything that happens to you. And with that you feel so empowered.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back to talk a little bit more. I want to throw something at you, a little more metaphor, and we'll talk about that. So we'll be back. I hope you're feeling a little bit better. I am. I'm starting to get
I'm still cold.
a little energy, a golden what do you call that? The golden. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Say
a golden.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Veil of whatever. You know what I mean.
I'm warmth. It's the glow. You have the glow, right? It's like the glow. I feel the glow. I wish I had a little more warmth.
Well, I can edit it so I can make it look like there's angels behind me, which there probably is.
There are. There's a whole army around you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Okay.